Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really jumping into something pretty complex, kind of a murky story around a man named Hisham al-Mandari.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And our main source here for you listening is actually excerpts from a YouTube video. It's someone claiming to be a former associate.
Right, and not just an associate, but someone apparently involved in, well, an alleged assassination attempt against al-Mandari. So, buckle up. There's some surprising details and, honestly, a lot of unanswered questions.
Definitely. And it's crucial right up front for you to understand this is a personal testimony we're working with.
Exactly. It's one person's view.
Is one person's recollection. So while it could be really revealing, it obviously comes with that individual's perspective, maybe biases.
For sure. So our goal isn't to say this is exactly what happened, but more to explore the claims being made. What's the core story here? What are the implications?
We want to understand the narrative itself.
So what are we covering today? Well, based on this account, we'll look into why someone supposedly wanted al-Mandari eliminated. That's the word used.
Yeah.
Then there's this story about a failed attempt in Miami, apparently, and some background details about al-Mandari that this person shares, which are pretty surprising.
Okay, so let's dig in. Where does this testimony start? The initial mission, as they call it.
Right. The speaker says he was approached in the U.S. by a guy named Jalil al-Abdoun,
Okay.
and the instruction was, well, pretty blunt, according to him. Enter the clinic and eliminate Hisham.
Wow, just like that.
Yeah.
And the justification.
Patriotism. Jalil apparently framed it as, doing a service for the country.
Interesting framing. And the speaker just agreed.
Well, what's really interesting is the speaker adds, almost casually, that he'd served his mission before.
Oh. So implying this wasn't the first time?
Seems like it. It definitely suggests prior involvement in, well, similar activities, whatever those might be. It kind of throws you into the deep end right away, doesn't it?
It really does. Raises a lot of questions about the context. It's okay. That's the mission setup. But then the narrative seems to shift focus to al-Mandari himself.
Yeah, exactly. The speaker starts talking about al-Mandari's character, at least how he saw him. And this is where it gets, well, complicated for you listening, because it's maybe not what you'd expect for someone targeted like this.
Right. Not just a villain figure. What did he say?
He claims al-Mandari was actually helpful, helped people out, like with car problems, small things, but also visiting poorer neighborhoods, trying to understand what people needed.
Just trying to connect with ordinary people.
Seems like it. And then there's this really specific story, quite detailed, about the Sheikh Zayed Hospital in Rabat.
Ah, yes, I remember reading this part. It's quite an anecdote.
It really is. So the story goes, Sheikh Zayed wanted this to be a free public hospital.
Okay.
And al-Mandari apparently found the land for it in Riyadh. Got it for free, supposedly.
So far, so good. But
then came the equipment. And according to the speaker, al-Mandari discovered that instead of the brand new radiology machines Sheikh Zayed had sent, they were installing old, used equipment.
No way, really?
That's the claim. So al-Mandari supposedly calls Sheikh Zayed, asks about it, and Sheikh Zayed confirms, no, I sent new machines.
So what happened to the new ones?
The implication, or the allegation really, is that the new machines were being sold off somewhere in Morocco, and the old ones were put in the hospital instead.
Wow, that's quite the accusation. If true, I mean.
Right. And Sheikh Zayed was understandably furious, according to this account, pulled his support.
Which led to it becoming a private hospital, not the free public one intended.
Exactly. And the speaker really stresses this point that he saw al-Mandari doing good things, that there was this huge gap between these actions and, the idea of him being someone who needed to be eliminated.
He also mentioned seeing al-Mandari's brother living in difficult circumstances.
Yeah, another detail to kind of counter a purely negative image. So it really makes you ask, why? Why target this guy if this account is accurate?
Well, that brings us to the motives, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The speaker himself seems to question it. He throws out a possibility, maybe linking it to King Hassan II's health declining around that time, and perhaps al-Mandari gaining influence. It's speculation on his part, it seems.
But there was an official reason given, right? Or at least the reason given to the speaker.
Yes. The story he was told was that al-Mandari had stolen checks from the palace belonging to Hassan II, amounting to $2.5 million.
Okay, $2.5 million. Sounds like a motive. But the speaker didn't buy it?
Not at all. He found it illogical. His reasoning was, look, al-Mandari supposedly owned a house in Monte Carlo worth $13 million.
$13 million, okay.
So his question is, why would someone with that kind of money risk everything, reputation, freedom, maybe worse for $2.5 million?
Yeah.
It seemed disproportionate, too.
Yeah, that does make you think, doesn't it? The risk versus reward seems off if those figures are right.
Exactly. It creates this kind of dissonance in the story he was fed.
Yeah.
So, okay, motives are murky. What about the actual attempt? The Miami part?
Right, the failed mission. So the speaker says he travels to Miami with Jalil al-Abdoun, the guy who gave the order, and one other person.
Okay.
The plan was for Jalil to go into the clinic where al-Mandari was staying. The speaker was waiting outside. He even says he has photos from this trip.
Photos. Evidence, potentially. So Jalil goes in,
And they hit a wall. Security was apparently much heavier than expected, like a police officer right at the door. And inside, with al-Mandari, 4 security guards.
4 guards plus a police officer outside.
Yeah.
It's not someone left vulnerable. That sounds like protection.
Exactly. It paints a very different picture. So Jalil, who the speaker notes was American,
right,
he apparently writes a report saying basically mission impossible, not doable at that hospital that day.
So the direct attempt failed because of security. What then? Did they just give up?
No, according to the speaker, they then sort of waited. There was a court case involving al-Mandari, and they were hoping he'd be extradited to Morocco.
Ah, okay. Let the legal system handle it, maybe?
Kind of, but there's another twist. The speaker claims the Moroccans were told by the Americans, essentially, don't worry, the court will find him innocent, then we'll hand him over.
That sounds convoluted.
Yeah.
And did it happen?
Nope. Didn't happen. He wasn't handed over, which, adds another layer of maybe international complexity or miscommunication, perhaps.
Definitely raises questions there. So the mission failed. Extradition didn't happen. Did the justification change again?
Well, according to the speaker, yeah, it feels like the goalpost kept moving, which is something interesting to note about how these stories can evolve.
How so?
He says Jalil told him later, it is clear that Hisham is the one we need to eliminate, like reaffirming the goal despite the Miami failure.
Okay. And did a new reason surface?
Apparently so. The speaker was then told that al-Mandari had strong connections with Sarkozy, Nicolas Sarkozy.
Sarkozy. Okay, now we're bringing in major international figures.
Right. And also, the case of the Bahraini dinar comes up. The speaker says he remembers hearing about it. It involves some kind of alleged forgery or financial issue.
The Bahraini dinar case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that rings a faint bell. And what does the speaker say about that?
He claims the forgery allegation was false and that France, interestingly, intervened somehow to, quiet the whole thing down.
France intervening, again, adding that international dimension. This is getting complex.
It really is. And then, just to add more to the picture of al-Mandari's connections, the speaker shares this memory. He says, back in 95, 96, the emir of Bahrain, who later became king, used to visit al-Mandari often.
Visit him. Okay.
And apparently would kiss his head as a sign of respect or something.
Kiss his head. Wow. That suggests a pretty significant relationship, doesn't it? Respect, maybe dependence, who knows?
Hard to say for sure, but it's a striking image. And one last bit.
Right.
The speaker mentions al-Mandari provided financial help to Morocco, using a nickname, Floustan.
Floustan. Like a play on Flus money, and maybe Washington or something. Finances.
Yeah, seems like a play on the French finances, implying he was a source of funds. So, just more layers suggesting influence and connections.
Okay, wow. So let's try and pull this together for you listening. What are the main threads here?
All right, so we have this alleged assassination plot, right? Kicked off with a direct order.
But then you have this conflicting portrait of the target, al-Mandari, portrayed by the speaker as doing good deeds, even fighting corruption with that hospital story.
Yeah, stark contrast. Then the motives seem questionable or at least inconsistent. The stolen check story didn't add up for the speaker.
Right, and the actual attempt in Miami failed because of heavy security, which itself raises questions.
Yeah.
Followed by a failed extradition expectation.
And then these shifting justifications emerge, bringing in big international names like Sarkozy, mentions of France intervening, connections to Bahrain's ruler. It's a lot.
It really is. The whole account coming from this one person is just full of these discrepancies and, frankly, leaves us with more questions than answers.
Definitely. So for you, the listener, what lingers? I mean, what does this story, this one account, suggest about the political atmosphere back then in Morocco, internationally?
And how much weight can you give to a single perspective like this, especially one from someone admittedly involved in, well, shady business, if his own account is true? What's missing from this picture?
Right. What aren't we being told? What other factors were at play? And the implications of governments or major political figures potentially being involved even tangentially. It's huge.
It absolutely is. It's just a tangled web.
It really is. And this deep dive, just looking at this one testimony, really highlights how tricky it is to understand historical events, especially ones kept under wraps or told through potentially biased memories.
It shows the need for skepticism, for looking for more sources, for understanding that history isn't always a simple narrative.
Exactly. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? About how stories like this are told, who tells them, and what might lie beneath the surface. Something to really chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.